Asking yourself this question will give you the answer that you are looking for. In today's session, I will be discussing about the fact that many of us don't have a clear diagnosis, especially when it comes to an autoimmune condition, and we get stuck and we pay a heavy price for it because we keep getting for the name a clear diagnosis, and it's notoriously difficult to get, especially where your immune system is involved. There's so many complexities and the tests are not always very conclusive, right? And you remain stuck, and whether in terms of getting sicker, symptoms getting worse, wasting years of your life. There's so many things that you pay a price in terms of, and I'm here to let you know that there is another way, and it starts with asking this question. And the question is that why do I have this disease, right? We often are not taught how to think in terms of why. Why is it that my body is behaving this way? Why is it that my immune system is not able to differentiate with what is foreign tissue and what is my own tissue, and is producing antibodies in the case of autoimmune conditions, and it's true for any chronic disease as well. Why is my body behaving this way? So I will be focusing more on autoimmune conditions, but you can sort of in a way extrapolate. Again, because of any chronic illness, it's the same thing, that why do I have this chronic illness, right? So I'll give you examples in terms of autoimmune diseases, but the questions actually don't really change. And if you like what I have to say, make sure that you drop me a message or DM me, or send me a private message and say the word guide. And I'll make sure that I reach out to you, because I am putting in place a very, very carefully curated guide, which is called Autoimmune Disease 101. Because what I find is that many of you are searching here and there, all over the internet, all over Google for answers. Even if you have asked yourself this question, maybe you're sort of just grappling for answers. I know that this is a problem because I have been there several years ago when my daughter was very unwell. She had severe eczema, and all I was told is that this is the medication that she's on. She has to, it can only be managed with these kind of medications. Because if you're familiar with eczema, then you will know that it's typically the topical medications that are given, or in our case, where because it was so severe, and we were not able to bring it under control, even with topical applications, moisturization, we had tried everything. So the only thing that was left for us was to suppress the entire immune system, and that's what we had to do for 5 years. And I did not know at that time that I could ask this question. I could ask that, why does my daughter have this disease? What is it that her body immune system is trying to do here? Because what we are again not taught to think this way, that it's not that our bodies have gone rogue or our immune system has gone rogue. There is a reason to this. It might seem madness to us that our body is producing antibodies, and eczema is a kind of an autoimmune disease simply because there is immune dysregulation at the root of it, right? All of these I have common. That is the common part, which is that immune system is not able to differentiate between what is friend, what is actually your own tissue, and what is a kind of a foreign tissue, and it's producing antibodies, and in a way it's attacking it. But why is it doing that, right? And I didn't ask this question for several years, and then I did my research over a period of 1 year actually, and I taught myself to think this way, and I changed my perspective, and it gave me all the answers that I needed. And which is why I'm putting in place a guide, which consists of books, podcasts, and credible resources like blogs and websites, which will give you, I mean, it's a very, very comprehensive and very carefully curated guide that I'm putting in place. It's called Autoimmune Disease 101, and it will give you in some form or the other. And I have given a, like small sort of descriptions for each of these sources. So you can choose which one you want to sort of, dive deep into, and it will give you the answers that you're looking for. Why is it that your body is behaving this way? Why is it that your immune system is sort of has, looks like that it has gone rogue, right? And if you would like that, I'm putting the final touches to that. It's a free guide make sure that you send me a message or DM me and just say guide, and I will reach out to you after this session. I mean, I'll reach out to you and I'll make sure that you get a copy of that. Right. So just if just to continue with what I'm discussing today, is if you're watching this on replay, also is that even if you don't have a clear diagnosis, right, you might wait for years, if not decades, especially in the case of autoimmune conditions, to get that name of the disease that you have. And unfortunately, what happens in that time frame is that you keep getting sicker, your symptoms keep increasing, so you've wasted a precious amount of time that you could have spent with your loved ones, with your family, with your children maybe, right? And it's so much of, it makes me really sad when I see the amount of suffering, and so much of it could have been prevented if only we understood that we need to change the way we look at this disease, and in for all autoimmune, for all chronic conditions for that matter, that there is a reason why my body is behaving this way, and I need to find that out. And if I don't get the answers from conventional medicine, I need to look elsewhere, which is exactly what I did. As a parent of a child who had such severe eczema, I had to look elsewhere, and it took me a year to figure out what actually made sense for her, because there is so much of clutter on the internet, there is so much of misinformation, wrong information, that it's actually quite scary, right? And it sort of puts us off. And I'm sure that if you have tried to do a Google search and you're looking for, if you just put in the words autoimmune disease, you will get millions of websites and millions of hits, and you don't know which one is actually true, what to look for, whom to follow. It's a mess in a way, that there's too much of information. So I'm making it easy for you and putting this guide in place. But at the end of it, yes, Aisha, I'm just going to answer because you've joined live. You get to ask me any questions that you want. There are several reasons, and if one pins them out, it's a task to heal all, which is exactly, you're absolutely right. It is a task, but it can be done. I have done that for my daughter, I have done that for my clients, and it is done by not trying to. So, for example, if there are 20 triggers, it is not done by attempting to remove all 20 triggers. It is done by figuring out what is a priority, what needs to be addressed now, and there is a methodology to do that. There is a step-by-step process that we follow. So, for example, in autoimmune conditions where the gut is involved, we follow a 5-step process. So there is a process to it, and it's by following that process that you cut out the overwhelm. And there has to be this process which has to be followed. Otherwise, you don't know what comes first, and it can make matters worse. And there are functional medicine practitioners who are trained, like myself. And when I work with women with autoimmune conditions, I take them through this process, right? Which is why they see the results. So you're absolutely right, but you need to follow a process while trying to deal with any kind of chronic illness, and for sure, autoimmune conditions as well. Just drop down any questions that you might have in the chat. I'll answer it as I go along. So the immune system is basically trying to protect you, right? So it's trying to protect you from something. And it can be in any kind of threat that it perceives to be a threat. I mean, of course, I mean, if you're having a certain food or there's a certain allergen, it may not be really a threat. But if for whatever reason, and I'm going to touch upon these today, if your immune system is hypervigilant, if it is overreactive and it's not being trained by the bacteria in your gut, which is actually one of the key points why gut health is so important. One of the things why gut health is so important for your immune regulation. If the bacteria has not trained your immune system to differentiate between what is threat and what is not a threat, then of course immune system starts reacting to anything and everything. And the other thing that happens is that certain foods, for example, gluten, which is found in, it's a protein found in many foods, including wheat, rye, barley products. And that further causes something called enhanced intestinal permeability, which then aggravates this problem, because then you develop sensitivities to more and more foods, which is why people who have immune dysregulation, that the immune system is not really balanced or tolerant, they go on to develop further immune dysregulation. They have more and more allergies, more and more foods that they react to, and it may not be allergic reaction, right? There are different ways that your immune system is reacting, and it's not all allergies, which is what we need to understand. And in a nutshell, what it means that there is a loss of tolerance, right? This is at the root. So whatever you are doing, whatever steps that you are doing, you have to ensure that you find a way to first remove the triggers. Like, I'll give you an example. When I work with my clients, and I work with women with autoimmune conditions primarily and other chronic issues, the first thing that we remove from the diet is gluten, because as I mentioned, gluten has several roles to play. I am not going to do a deep dive today into gluten. Maybe I'll do it one of the future sessions. But I just want to share with you that gluten itself causes enhanced intestinal permeability through by releasing something called zonulin. I mean, when you're having gluten day in and day out, your bacteria releases something called a molecule called a zonulin, which further damages the gut lining through which the digested food particles, microbes, toxins from your food pipe, stomach, it goes down to your gut. That starts passing in through your bloodstream, right? And it's not supposed to be there. It's supposed to be completely digested, absorbed in your gut within your small and large intestine. And only the digested food particles are supposed to go through these tight junctions, these junctions in your gut. What happens in enhanced intestinal permeability is that it becomes, in a way, the tight junctions become loose and you have larger and larger molecules. And in any case, those who have any kind of chronic illness, and in particular autoimmune conditions, also have usually have poor digestion, usually. And what happens when you have undigested food particles, and which also pass through, toxins pass through, microbes pass through, then is it any wonder that your immune system is reacting to all this? Because your immune system has evolved to be very, very strong and keep you alive, right? So when it sees all these things in your bloodstream, it has no choice but to respond. So it is a kind of a maladaptation. So I want you to think of it this way. It is not trying to attack you for no reason whatsoever. There is a reason why it is producing antibodies towards the tissues, and it's a form of maladaptation. So rather than trying to only suppress it, it would be much more useful if we found a way to remove the triggers in the first place, which is why we remove gluten as one of the first things, and then do take other steps, other foods, lifestyle practices, lifestyle choices, which helps your immune system to slowly become more healthy and balanced, so that it's neither overreactive, which is the case of autoimmune conditions, allergies, eczema, asthma, which is what my daughter had, which was eczema, so hypervigilant and overreacting, reacting to everything. Neither is it underreactive, and it can switch between the two. You don't want to be battling infections also on the time. What happens also in many cases, because the immune system is so busy fighting forces, trying to figure out whether it's a threat or not in one area, that there are infections and viruses, and these are all opportunistic microbes, which are always there all around us, and they take advantage of that, and then we are sort of even battling these chronic infections which never seem to go away. So you are sort of stuck between both of these, and you're not able to get through, get around this. So what I want you to know is that after asking these kind of questions, after understanding what is behind the genesis of autoimmune conditions, and also understanding that these are not different diseases, right? At the bottom of all autoimmune diseases, whether it's lupus, Hashimoto's, rheumatoid arthritis, Sjogren's syndrome, any of these, any kind of immune dysregulation, it is loss of tolerance, right? So you have to, create an environment such that your immune system is able to come back, be more balanced, and find, that, and actually calm down. Let me put it this way. I mean, it's much easier to explain. So calm down, and there are ways of doing that. There is a process that you can follow. So it starts with your gut. Gut is usually where most of the problem lies, and that's the first place we address. There might be other things. There might be presence of toxins. There might be presence of an infection which never got addressed. There might be a huge stress issues. Chronic stress also has a huge impact in that. Yes, Aisha, absolutely right. There are different kind of autoimmune diseases, just like the different kind of cancers, right? There's an overgrowth of cells, so some cancers are worse than other. It's a similar thing. Some are worse. I'm not saying they're all the same. I'm just saying that at the bottom, at the root of it all lies loss of tolerance of the immune system. So immune system is involved in this, which is what I'm trying to say here. So just by knowing the name of, I'm not saying that one should not get a treatment for it. That's not what I'm saying at all. Because we need to have the medical treatment to make sure that the damage does not become worse and worse. That's not, I'm not saying an either or situation here. What I am saying is that while you're waiting for the treatment, while you're trying to figure out what's wrong, what is it that you have, and what needs to be done, at the same time, you can do all of this. Um, so, functional medicine, yes, can reverse, but understand that there is a difference between reversing and curing. When it comes to a chronic condition, vis-a-vis something like a jaundice or a malaria or a chickenpox, any bacterial infections, there is a cure because you have an antibiotic, you have an antiviral, and you know that it will go away finally. I mean, if you take the medication, it will go away for any chronic condition, including autoimmune conditions, diabetes, cancer, any chronic condition, hypertension, blood, high cholesterol, whatever the case might be, thyroid, right? You can reverse it. You can improve the symptoms. In some cases, you can make the symptoms go away completely, which is what happened in the case of my own daughter. And it happens with my patients, not lupus, but I have worked with Hashimoto's, rheumatoid arthritis. Symptoms can really vanish. But remember that it's not a cure because you have this condition, you have the genes for it, there is a reason, there's usually a trigger. So, three things have to happen for any autoimmune disease to occur. One is that you need to have the genes for it, and most of us that we do have, we have been born with a particular gene. We can't change that really. The second is enhanced intestinal permeability, which I just touched upon. And third is a trigger. And the trigger is usually an environmental trigger. So for many people, actually, it's the COVID infection. I know somebody in my family who has shown symptoms of autoimmunity, which had lied dormant for 20, 25 years after after having the COVID infection, and that has also happened after some several months. So your immune system, so to answer the question, that yes, the symptoms can vanish, you can reverse it, but it's not completely cured. I would say it's remission, but you can live an amazing life. You can sort of get back to what we say that, a normal life with certain changes that you need to make, right, in your diet, in your lifestyle. Those have to be there, because again, if the same triggers come back and which led you to the disease diagnosis in the first place, basically you can go back. That's how what I mean. And but believe me, when people start feeling better, when the pain is gone, when your energy levels improve, when you sort of get your life back, you never want to go back to that place again, right? In my daughter's case, also, I mean, my clients, so I'll give you my client's example. I mean, I had a client who had several autoimmune diseases, and she had chronic diarrhea for 7 years. Constant antibiotics and steroids were the only way that she was able to address them every other week. And by slowly working on her diet and lifestyle, finally, her chronic diarrhea, we was able to, I said that peeling the layers of the onion, just as you're opening the onion one layer at a time, which is what we did, which is why it takes time. But by making these changes, and as a coach, that is my specialty, I help people make these changes, because it's not enough to know that you need to stay off these foods, you need to make these changes, you need to manage your stress. How do you do it and how do you sustain it? But that's exactly what I help my clients with through a process. I help them to make these changes, and as we peel the layers of the onion, we uncovered that, what are the couple of things that was causing her chronic diarrhea, and her diarrhea has stopped ever since, right? And she's been off those meds, and she's not had that kind of pain, which was debilitating. Yes, Aisha, to answer your question, it depends. If a chronic disease is, even autoimmune condition has been entrenched for maybe 50 plus years, 45, 50 years, and it has reached a stage where much of organ damage has been done, tissue damage has been done, then reversal may not happen, but improvements always. You can always get better, no matter what condition and what. But For others whose the disease is not that it depends on the damage that has already been done. So if the damage is not as extensive, there's so many cases, including in my practice, in the functional medicine world, where symptoms have been reversed, which the disease has been reversed. As I said, it's not a cure, it's a reversal, and the symptoms have vanished, and the blood work has become normal. Yes, it happens all the time, right? And when I share the guide, as I mentioned, if you're interested in the guide, it's called Autoimmune Disease 101, where I have curated books written by functional medicine practitioners, and with the case studies, my blogs, podcasts, you will hear of so many case studies which will give you hope that by taking these steps and asking these kind of questions, you will be able to heal from it, right? Not cure it, but heal from it. And so rather than focusing on names, what I would say is understand how to balance your immune system. That's what I've been talking about today. Don't focus so much on names. Again, don't get me wrong. We need to have treatment, medical treatment. It's not an either or situation. So if you already have autoimmune disease and it's all damaging your tissues, you will need to take medication for it so that further tissue damage does not take place. At the same time, your responsibility is to start asking the right questions, and it starts with, why do I have this disease, right? And just figuring out that how do I balance my immune system. Because there are not different diseases, the underlying mechanism is the same, and we call it the autoimmune spectrum, which is why once you're on the autoimmune spectrum and you've developed one disease, most people will go on to develop several autoimmune diseases, right? That's usually what happens, and which is why it is so important that we take steps to make sure that our immune system becomes healthy and balanced again, because otherwise we go on to develop more and more autoimmune diseases. And again, the underlying mechanism is the same. The triggers for immune dysregulation are usually gluten, toxins, stress, infections, heavy metals. These are the typical ones. So all of these have to be addressed in a step-by-step process. It's hard to do it on your own. Believe me, when my daughter was ill, several years ago, I was trying to do it on my own till I got help. I reached out to a functional medicine practitioner because I realized that they are the ones who actually understood what was going on, and we never looked back. And we got her off actually meds, immune suppressing meds. So the main difference between, again, rather than only chasing the diagnosis, the main difference between these autoimmune diseases is which tissue are they targeting, right? And they target and attack different parts of your body. So that's how the names can change. But some of them are systemic, like lupus is systemic. It's not even one particular body part. Like rheumatoid arthritis can be joints, Hashimoto's is thyroid glands, Graves is thyroid glands, but some of the others are actually systemic. So it depends. The names actually just denote that. But they at the end they are not 80 different diseases or 90 different diseases, right? So don't keep waiting to get the diagnosis. Of course, whatever treatment if you need to take, start with that. Continue to see the doctor. That's important. At the same time, start asking the right questions as to why you have this disease and why is your immune system reacting this way. What is the reason for this maladaption? Because it is a form of maladaption, this loss of tolerance. Otherwise, what happens for most people is that we keep waiting. We keep waiting for a cure. We keep waiting for answers which we don't really get. The symptoms start getting worse. We keep getting sicker and sicker, and we lose, I think this is the worst part, we lose precious years of our life, years that we could have spent with our loved ones, with our family, with our friends. We lose so much, right? It's beyond that. And of course, if it's financially also we lose so much, right? Between the hospital visits, between the doctor visits, between the medical treatments, and when we don't know that there is so much that we can do to reverse, to get better, then we are stuck in that merry-go-round, right? Doctor visits, hospital visits, and treatments, and we end up spending also so much more. So in whichever way you look at it, we pay a heavy price, and I don't want that to happen to you, which is why I'm sharing this message. I help my clients do this all the time to turn their life around. It's not easy, of course, but it is possible. right? So that's what I want to tell you, that it is possible. I have done it myself for my daughter. I am doing helping my clients do that, and I'm here to share that message with you. So if you want the guide that I was talking about, it's called Autoimmune Disease 101. And I realize that so many people are looking for answers but in the wrong places, and Google is really helpful, but it can be too much of information when we don't know what to look for. It's like a needle in a haystack. So I am doing your work, all the time and the research that I have put in over the years. And as I mentioned, I had done 1 year of research before I turned to functional medicine, because my daughter was 7 and I wanted to be 110, 120, 150% sure that what the path that I was going down was the right path. Because honestly, in 2014, I didn't know anybody who had been healed from functional medicine apart from what I read online. So I needed to be very, very sure that it could work for her and it would not harm her, more importantly. And I did 1 year of research. 2015, I worked with a functional medicine practitioner. We got her off all meds 2 years later. But remember that you don't cure any chronic disease, right? But that's not necessarily bad, because as you find ways to live with it, as you find ways to become healthy again, it's helped my entire family. What the changes that we have made for my daughter has helped all of us. It has changed our life. I choose to look at it this way, rather than feeling that we were cheated or deprived, or that my daughter was a victim of eczema or any disease. And you need to change the way you look at it too, right? And that changes everything. Asking the right questions, changing your perspective changes everything. So I invite you to uh, you know get in touch with me. If you have any other questions, drop it below. And if you want the guide, Autoimmune Disease 101, make sure that you uh, DM me or message me and say guide. That's all, and I will get in touch with you, and I'll see you again soon.